As I have this Columbia Elepian in for service at the moment, I thought I'd make a brief guide to it, as there's hardly any information at all out there on these instruments. As you can see, it's quite a nice action. It's quite sophisticated for an electric piano. A bit like an upright piano, but in plastic and metal. A few differences: dampers damping from behind the reeds. Right, I'll just get the camera off the stand so you can see a bit more closely. Here we have the pickups. So a bit like a Rhodes, all electromagnetic. They seem to be wired in series completely though. But what's quite nice about them is we have adjusting screws there. Bottom screw is for the amount of fundamental. So a bit like the front screw on the tone generator assembly on a Rhodes. So if I bring the screw out a little bit, as you get a little bit more than the other way. So you can get quite a large amount of tonal variation. The top screw is for up and down adjustment in this case, to get the pole piece of the pickup closer to the reeds so you can get more or less volume. In terms of regulating the action, there's a couple of significant things. So on top of the jack, which you can see just here, there's a screw head which you can turn to vary the hammer blow distance. So I set these hammers to sit all on this green felt rail just here. Now further into the action you can see a small screw in the wood between the keys, which varies the amount of let off from the hammer. So yeah, more or less adjusting touch sensitivity, whatever. So it's quite nice, it's quite sophisticated, fairly easy to work on. You have some straight line adjustment if you want to move the whole action up and down. These screws just here. There's 4 of them across the instrument. You have the phono out for the harp just there, a bit like a Rhodes. It goes to a preamp. I'm running this direct. I don't actually like the sound of the. It's a passive tone circuit, pretty much like a Rhodes. And it tends to attenuate the sound a little bit too much for my liking. In fact, here's a circuit diagram for anybody who's interested. Pretty crude. As you can see, the pickups in series a little bit different to a Rhodes. And here is a diagram of the Elepian action. It's all labelled in Japanese, so I can't have to get that translated. A couple of things to note with the Elepian. So the pedal, this one came with no pedal rod, so I had to make a new one, which I used a cut down Rhodes pedal for. Rhodes pedal rod for. Here we are. So it's a quite similar mechanism to a Rhodes. There's the pedal, and it activates this rod just here. I had to put a little plastic grommet on the end of it, just so it would not go through this hole just here completely. As you can see, it presses the bar down here and pulls the dampers back from the reeds. So when you set it, you have to try and feel when the bar is touching the backs of the dampers. Just, where is it? There we are. Just here. So it has to, I set it so it sits pretty much right on there. If you need to take the back off the Elepian, it's a bit of a puzzle because there's casters on the rear of it. But actually, once I figured out that these ones are extractable, then it's fairly straightforward to get off. Right, so I think that's pretty much covered everything. I mean, it's quite a nice sound. I would say it's quite close to the Hohner Electropiano, but not, it's slightly different. The action's more refined, but the one problem with the Elepian in terms of their, looks like they've spent, the action probably cost quite a lot of money to develop, but if you look at the reeds, I think the whole piano, the whole scale is from the same blank, so bass to treble. Look at them, so that economy possibly costs them a little bit of tone. So in the bass I'd want a little bit more than that. I've tried quite a lot of things to get it sounding better. Mid-range, it's a bit like a pianette, a bit like an electropiano. High end is much more like an electropiano, which is obviously a classic sound, which I really love. So, I mean, there is a recording, a Japanese recording of the Elepian, which I found online. It's really horrible, which it's kind of a big band setting. It doesn't really make the instrument sound very good. But I think in the right environment, it could sound really amazing. So I think there's a lot of potential for this to be used further to make some great recordings. Right, okay, well, I'll try and get this uploaded, maybe make a website for it. And any questions, feel free to get in touch.